All right, we're going to be starting on others. Good evening to everyone over in the world. Oh, John, do we have it connected for the? Let me just start with the connector. Can you grab that right below there, John? 1 second, everyone. We have a new setup here we're playing with. That's all connected, right?
Yep, it's all
so we have a new setup here. You should get better sound from me here. So Instagram people, can you hear me better? John, what are they saying? So Instagram, you should be able to hear better. We got some better new mics that we've just set up here. And everyone on the other medium, we're waiting for people to join on, what do we have? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Hello, Audrey. Good to have you. So just doing a sound check on Instagram. Can people hear me all right? Test, test, test.
Just waiting for the comment lag.
Okay. Good to see everyone. We're going to have an interesting talk today on infrastructure. Good. So people on, people can see me okay on, we have on.
Yep, they're saying they can hear you. Audio's better.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, we worked on the audio here. We got a separate lapel mic. So good evening, everyone. I have to do my class at 7 p.m. So I'm going to try to pack this in like 15 minutes. All right, let's do it in 15, John.
Right.
Okay. And then we'll end it. Okay. So John gave me an idea today to talk about Texas, the infrastructure, because everyone knows the unfortunate situation for people of Texas. They weren't ready for the storm. People are being geoengineering, China, okay? Well, the bottom line is we're supposed to be the strongest nation on the planet, and we should have something in systems called resilience. So as many of you know, what we do at vashiva.com and what we're doing is that we're building a platform. We're building a technology platform, an educational platform, an activism platform. And those of you who want to know more about it, I'll come back to it, should go check out vashiva.com/join. And when you go to vashiva.com/join, you'll see that it's very clear that I'm going to put all the technology skills that I have. And by the way, a lot of people don't know, for many, many years, I built the platform starting in 1993 for communications management, digital communications management for the biggest Fortune 1000 companies in the world. We created our own data center, which I still own. So all that stuff I did for many years, and we're using that infrastructure, which is not owned by Facebook, which is not owned by Twitter. And on that platform, we're unleashing a platform called VA Shiva. As it says, it's a revolutionary platform where everyone can contribute, you can support it. But it's a platform I'll talk about where, number one, is education. You can become truth, freedom, and health warriors. As I keep saying, you know, people have asked to donate to support this platform because we're putting in hardware, technology, networking, data center, education, activism, all this stuff you wanted to contribute. So when you contribute what we've done on this platform, when you go to vashiva.com/join, is that you get access to all sorts of wonderful educational tools. You can become a truth, freedom, and health warrior. You can also become a systems and revolution. You can become a supporter. Or you can just join for nothing, right? You can just be a part of the community. And I'll get back to this, but the bottom line is that if we don't build a systems understanding of what's going on in the world, we're going to be following this foolish Republican over here, another foolish Democrat, or some pro-Trump, anti-Trump, you know, pro and anti, left and right. And that's what the establishment wants you to do. I was telling a friend of mine, Jenny, as I was driving up, that we got to get out of this left-right Republican Democrat. That's the kabuki theater. And right now what's happening, right? You have Trump going to CPAC, right? The conservative Inc. guys who frankly did nothing, okay, except make money talking about being conservative. They're all going to be there, but they haven't invited the real quote unquote change agents because they just want to create the dialectic. Biden is bad, we're better, right? And that'll go on for a while, just like the Democrats said, Trump is bad, we're better. Democrats and Republicans. But if we take a systems approach, we will find out something very, very important, that working people in this country have been screwed over and over and over again. I'm going to do a whole session on this, that if you're making $50,000 today, you should actually be making $120,000. And that came from a detailed analysis from the RAND talking about how we have two American pies in the world. One American pie is for the 5%. Their salaries have grown beautifully over the last 50 years. But the salaries and income of the 95% of us have shrunk. And that adds up to around $50 trillion, which has gone to the elite's other American pie. So we need to get our head out of you know what and stop playing this Republican Democrat. You know, it's like WWF wrestling. When I was 12 years old, I used to watch it. And by the time you get 15, you realize it's all fake. Okay. But you guys who are following this Republican Democrat left right nonsense, the plan, the Q, the P, whatever you want to call it, are basically watching WWF wrestling. And so what I'm going to talk about today is about infrastructure. And one of the most important things you're going to see in infrastructure, $1 in investment in infrastructure results, $1 in infrastructure results in typically a $6 to $10 return. Think about yourself. Infrastructure could be educating yourself, learning a language, making your house better, right? Building railways, building bridges, taking care of your health. That's infrastructure. You do that, you get a 6 to 10x return. You simply give someone money, right? Just give them free stuff. You lose 40 cents. So it's a 0.4x loss. That's what the economics say. So in the United States today, and I'm going to come back to playing our Truth, Freedom, Health Warrior video in the interest of time. What I'm going to show you here is if you actually look at the data right now, let's look at the data here. This is from the American Society, let me go right here, of Civil Engineers report that just came out, okay? That came out in 2017. They do it every 3 to 4 years, okay? But this was a 2017 report card. And this is from the American Society of Civil Engineers. I'm an engineer. And if you look at engineering principles, you find out when you look at this engineering situation, America got a D plus. That's a cumulative GPA. So imagine one of your kids got a D plus on their report card. So this is the infrastructure, which is the systems that involve many, many things. So let's look at that. What does that involve? That involves aviation, D. So pretty much, basically a lot of D's, and we'll see in states, many states got F's, except for the aviation and rail. I'm sorry, for rail, which got a B, aviation D, bridges C plus, dams D, drinking water D, energy D plus, hazardous waste D plus, inland waterways D, levees D, wastewater D plus, transit D minus, okay, close to an F, solid waste C plus, schools D plus, roads D, rail B, okay, ports C plus and D plus, okay? So imagine if your kid got this, what you would feel. This is a current situation in American infrastructure, all right? Now, it gets even more interesting if you actually look at, as I mentioned, the public transport system, as I said, that got a D minus. And by the way, one of the things to remember is you can't, engineers, it's hard to BS us, you know, we have to build stuff. If we don't do stuff that works, it falls apart. You can't politic your way out of it. So the American Society of Civil Engineers here is not a political organization. You know, they're engineers, and engineers, by and large, it's very difficult for us to lie, okay? Because our truth comes out pretty quickly. You write a piece of software, it doesn't work, the software engineer is blamed. You build an airplane, it falls out of the sky, you saw what happened to Boeing, they get blamed. Politicians, not so true. They can keep going lying and cheating and faking elections. And what you see here is, this is the report card for the public, our public transport system, a D minus, and you can see that's the lowest grade, which is our transit system. And why is this important? Because working people, you know, it's very expensive to own a car. So you have the public transport system. They've made it a D minus. So think about how difficult it is. I have many stories here in Massachusetts. A working woman, you know, who works outside of the city, it'll take her 2 hours to get into the city and 2 hours back. That's 4 hours. Plus, they're sitting in the rain and the cold and sleet, because many of these subway stations or outside stations or bus stations have no real covering. This is a reality of everyday working people. Now, if you look at Massachusetts, as I mentioned here, what do you see here? Massachusetts, by the way, Massachusetts is important. This is tell you the hypocrisy here. Massachusetts is where we have MIT, one of the elite civil engineering departments. And look what Massachusetts got, okay? Massachusetts got a D, F minus. It's actually an F minus, okay? 123 out of 350 points. Bridges in poor conditions, roads in unacceptable conditions, and 20-year water system needs, okay? And I live in a reasonable neighborhood, and even my water, when I get it from Belmont Water, it'll say, be aware of using your tap water. It could have lead in it, high levels of lead. All right. So this is what we have. So when I look at what's going on in this country, and I look back when as a kid, I left India in 1969, 1970. That was a third world country. We had cheating, bridges, roads. The Delhi airport today is better than the airport in LaGuardia. Okay, that's what's happened in India in the last 50 years. And the US infrastructure is actually decaying. That's what we're doing here. So why is infrastructure important? And why did I put that the elites don't give a damn about your public health? Because if you go back to 1900s, and I talk about this in our course, remember, every Monday evenings, we're building a movement to educate you on why you must take a systems approach, why you have to connect infrastructure to corruption, two different systems, and to the system of health. So what I talk about is that the infectious diseases in the United States, starting in 1900, for example, measles was 14 out of 100,000 people. Because of the massive movements that took place in the United States in the early 1900s, by the 1950s, measles infection rate had dropped around 1 out of 2 million. Long before the measles vaccine came, even a decade before. That was because of nutrition, sanitation, infrastructure, roads, etc. The elites don't give a damn about you. They want you to be in the Republican camp and the Democrat camp, the left and the right. And if you're foolish enough to continue to doing that, you get what you're going to deserve. You're going to get nothing. You're going to get worse infrastructure. And why is infrastructure important? Because when you have infrastructure, we have health, which means we have physical health. Look at the water systems as just shared here. This is, people act as though Flint, Michigan is some anomaly. Look at this. The drinking water in the United States got a D, okay? Not a C, not a B, not an A D. There you go. So this is what's happened under Obama, under Trump, under Clinton, all these administrations. They haven't improved, guys. Now, it gets even more interesting. So as I shared with you, if you look at Massachusetts, 123 out of 350. Massachusetts is the center of technology and innovation. All right. Now, this is where you can take a systems approach and you can understand that you start looking at the fact that you have failing infrastructure. Massachusetts gets an F minus, United States infrastructure gets a D plus, but there's a direct connection between infrastructure and corruption. And before I go to that, I'm going to just make sure all of you know that every Monday evenings, we are building an army of truth, freedom, and health warriors. It's explosive. People are signing up every day. I want you to get in your head that without the science, without the political physics, that the curriculum that I've put together for you, that you will always be going this way or that way. You won't be confident on how to look at a political situation. So I want to just take a quick break here, and I want to make sure all of you are aware that we have a curriculum that we've built. It's called the Curriculum for Truth, Freedom, and Health. It's an actual program that anyone here can take, and I'm going to play it for you right now so you understand what we're actually doing here.
And that's why I put this together. My goal is to train a...
Let me start from the beginning.
End goal. We have allowed our country to be taken over from within, and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to, and we need to all unite, working people. There's only one movement that can do that. And that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution, and that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training, because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, right? Talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work united. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers. Completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people. They have to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You've got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is a not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. But the biggest disturbance is a not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something, or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow, some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. And that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done, and it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote-unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these four concepts I've built into a curriculum. People can go to vashiva.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people 2 years of MIT control systems. I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it. Anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. And the Senate campaign's expanded to the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health, and they can find it on V as in Victor A. Shiva, vashiva.com. So people can sign in, they can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a Truth, Freedom, and Health leader, I offer a full scholarship there. But we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to VA Shiva, Victory America Shiva, vashiva.com.
All right, everyone. So the reason I wanted to share that is we have to build a systems understanding. Some people are asking, why do I hit Tucker? Well, Tucker Carlson, the reason I'm so insistent on this is you have to understand these people are entertainers. They do not care about working people. So let me go back to the statistics here. When you go back to the numbers, you're going to see the infrastructure in the United States got a D+, Massachusetts is an F-, here's MIT, all right? And now we're going to see, I'm going to show you how the infrastructure is related to how corrupt the elites are. So let's look at this other fact here that is going to hopefully make you intersect and understand why we need to take a systems approach. So if I go back here to Massachusetts here, so if we look right here, Massachusetts, by the way, this is a Center for Public Integrity. And what they do is they look at organizations, states, and they look at how corrupt they are. Well, Massachusetts got a D+. So think about this. Massachusetts got a D+ in public integrity, and it got an F- right there in infrastructure. So what's the connection there? Massachusetts gets a D+ in integrity, which means they're really corrupt, the top 3 corrupt states in the United States, and they're also the top worst infrastructures. And you can see Hawaii is pretty corrupt, where Tulsi Gabbard comes from, okay? That's another discussion. But the reason I'm sharing this is that when you look at the system of corruption and the system of infrastructure, you find that there's a deep correlation, that the politicians are highly corrupt. The money, the tax dollars that you give for constructions, for roadways, water systems, where are they actually going? Where are they going? They're not surely going to building infrastructure. And you see in Massachusetts, the corruption is a D+, which means they're highly corrupt. And they have a F minus infrastructure. You see that? A juvenile delinquent kid probably doesn't do that well in school, okay? A kid who does crime, is out of control, it probably gets F's and D's. That's what Massachusetts is. And you can look at it at a larger level. How is this country being organized? And the people that are perishing and are suffering are working people. That's why we got to go from a systems understanding beyond left and right. And you need to understand the political physics. Now I'm going to share with you something even more interesting, okay? Philip K. Howard, who's done a lot of research on this, okay? He wrote a good paper. It's called 2 years, not 10 years, Redesigning Infrastructure Approvals. And I recommend you guys go read this. It's a report that's a great report that everyone should go read. It's called 2 years, not 10 years. And it's about cutting the fact that in America, after even budget is given, let's say we put trillions into saying, okay, we're going to revamp the infrastructure. And let's say one of those was you're going to rebuild a bridge in your community, okay? A bridge is falling apart. You allocated, let's say, $1 billion to rebuild that bridge. Guess how long from the time the money is allocated that it takes to get that bridge actually started, okay? To get building, to get the approvals. Let me repeat that again. Let's say today, February 22nd, a bill is passed, funding is allocated to build a bridge in your town. From the time that money is allocated, it'll take 10 years for the permits, for the permitting and all that stuff to get allocated. And we know the level of corruption that takes place. If you own real estate, commercial real estate in any city, you'll know how much corruption it is. You got to know someone in City Hall. You have to know this person. You got to know a politician just to get approvals to do a building. So a bridge, a lot of layers of people are making a ton of money. It takes, what Philip K. Howard brings up in this report is that it takes nearly 20,000 pages of documentation, 20,000 pages of documentation to even go through the regulatory process. And he says you can do it in about 300 pages, all right? So the politicians have created all this regulatory framework, so our tax dollars get sucked, they make more money through all the corruption. That's how they rig it. In places like Singapore and China, it takes 2 years. Even in places like Canada and Germany, so one is authoritarian regimes and the other is relatively democratic regimes, it still takes only 2 years. In the United States, it takes 10 years. So when you look at what occurred in Texas, for example, the elites don't give a damn. And they'll, geoengineering this, maybe China was behind it, but shouldn't we be prepared for those kinds of things? And independent of China, look at the actual statistics in a place like the United States long before China got involved, okay? Massachusetts, the United States got a D+. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at the fact that infrastructure throughout the United States is failing. Infrastructure is a system. Corruption is a system. And how engineering is a system. So you have Philip K. Howard saying we could bring down the regulations down to 2 years, not 10 years. And that's how we eliminate corruption. And it's not going to come from politicians. It's going to come from working people, engineers, and people who actually work for a living. That's what I wanted to share with you. So as you reflect on Texas, reflect long before China, maybe geoengineering, whatever, but reflect on this fact. So we need to get very commonsensical and practical and not start blaming everything else. They want you to blame aliens. They want you to blame China. They want you to blame everyone else. Even in the election fraud stuff, China was doing it. No, maybe, but China cannot be complicit, could not do its stuff without complicity from here. And that's what they don't want you to think about. They want you to think about everything, is, some other country doing this to us. They don't want you to think about the fact that we have corrupt people right here. And that's what we have. And so anyway, I want to invite all of you guys to become Truth, Freedom, and Health Warriors. I have to start my class at 7 p.m. It'll be for about 3 hours. Invite you all to join. And in closing, what I want to share with you is when you become a Truth, Freedom, and Health warrior, you can go to the site. Let me go right here. You can go join. You can go right here and join as anything. You can contribute whatever you want, but you get access to all different types of tools. But when you join, we have created the platform, and it's growing every day. And on this platform, we have all sorts of capabilities. When you log into the platform, we're creating a dashboard. A number of the Truth, Freedom warriors are on the watching here, and we're building a community so you don't feel alone. We're building a community where you can get access to different videos. You can get access to a forum, for example. This is not on Facebook. This is not on Twitter. This is not on, any other social media. This is our forum. So you can go here, for example, there's all different health discussions taking place. You can see it's very, very lively. It's getting quite interesting. And this has just been in probably about a week. Similarly, we have an equivalent of Facebook. So you can log in as a warrior, and you can get access to all different kinds of tools that allow you to actually connect with others. You can build your own Facebook pages on here, and then you can create friends, there's groups, etc. So all of this is up here. And so there's different groups. We should probably populate this more. I can show you different people's sites. For example, here are different members here. This is the Truth, Freedom, and Health Warrior Group. And here are members in here. And you can see different people are signing in. There's Michelle, for example. Okay. And so, and besides that, there's all sorts of tools for you to become educated and become activated. So for example, on the ground, we are putting up, different types of cards, for example, that you can use in your local environments. So for example, we just put up the vaccine card, okay? We just put up the card, and it's called Beyond Vax and Anti-Vax. And again, you can print this out. This is just a new thing. It's got the front of the card and the back of the card. You can print this up and hand it out, and you can educate people. So you can see, here's a card. You can educate people. So this is the front of the card. It says, look, let's move beyond vax, anti-vax, build community, boost immunity, precision, and personalized medicine. And the back of the card can educate your neighbors and your friends what the real issues are. So we go beyond this vax, anti-vax. And it said, vaccines for all is based on an outdated immune science. Modern science reveals need for personalized medicine. Vaccinations do not guarantee a strong immune system. Right nutrition, friendships, activities boost immunity. That's been documented. And then it talks about the public health implications. Vaccine manufacturers are protected from liability. There's a lack of public health education on boosting immunity. The 1962 Kennedy Vaccination Act was based on 100-year-old science, and we need a need for pharmaceutical grade testing of vaccines. And what do I mean by that? Vaccines don't even go through any type of even pharma type testing. The pharmaceutical drugs go through nearly 6-7 years testing. Vaccines don't even go through that. That's why pharma is failing, because their vaccines are failing. So what I want to encourage you all to do is to recognize that we need to build a bottoms up movement for truth, freedom, and health. We need to educate people, and there is a physics. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. I got to rush off to my class. Have a good night. Bye-bye.